New Jersey, West Hudson. And he has a passion for technology and for learning. For the last few months, he has been volunteering at Tech Pro, holding webinars on topics such as Zoom and Google Classroom, as well as helping tutors with their tech questions. He enjoys working with others, helping students learn and learning about technology. And now, Sid will start his presentation for our Zoom Tutors workshop. And welcome again.
Thank you, Anita.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
I'm so sorry. I had some difficulties getting on myself, but we'll get started. Oh,
there you were.
Where is this person? Oh, there he is.
Anita, could you enable screen sharing?
Sure. Then
maybe everybody could put themselves on mute so we won't have background noise.
okay, it's ready, Sid.
What happened?
Yes, can you guys all see my slideshow just to make sure?
Oh, okay. It says advanced Zoom features. Is that what we're looking at?
Yes.
Okay.
Right. So the purpose of my presentation today is to go over some of the more advanced features in Zoom that tutors might find useful when teaching their classes. This is under the assumption that you guys are reasonably familiar with the basics. You all were able to get on here today, so that's a good start. And we'll work from there. The presentation should last around 45 minutes with time for questions. But feel free to put your questions in the chat as I'm going, or even unmute and interrupt me if it's a good time. I'm happy to answer questions as I go. That's honestly the easiest to make sure I'm clear. So
the volume seems very low. Does anybody else have that problem?
Yes.
I apologize. That has been happening with my computer. I think I can fix it though. Do I sound any louder now?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's great.
A little.
Okay.
Sid, are you gonna cover how to do screen sharing? Because I don't know how to do that and I don't know if that's advanced or not.
Yes, I will be covering screen sharing, and I believe that is first up on our list. So, this slide just says hi, but Anita already gave me a lovely introduction. So hi, everyone. And so yes, our first topic is sharing your screen. This is one of the most important features when you're using Zoom to teach, because you can't hand materials to your students, so this is how you can show it to them. To start, you want to look at the toolbar at the bottom of your screen, and you guys should actually all see a similar toolbar right now. And the green button to share screen is the button you'll use. It's currently disabled for you guys because I'm doing it, but in your meetings you will be able to. So when you click on this button, you get this pop-up box. This is how it looks on a Mac. It looks slightly different, but effectively the same on a Windows machine. And so there are a few different options for sharing your screen. We're going to start with the most simple one, which is where you share your entire screen. So on Mac, you'll see something that it says desktop 1, and on Windows, it'll say something like your entire screen or just the word screen. And so what this does is it allows your participants to see everything that is on your screen so at any time. So including your mouse and including anything you pull up. So if you want to share like a Word document that you have made, you can pull that up and then share your screen and your participants will be able to see it. Maybe you have a cool website you want to share them, that can work too. Anything that you can view on your computer, your participants will also see. That looks something like this. This is an example of someone sharing their entire screen. You can see that they are watching a cute dog video on YouTube, and their participants will also be able to see this. Now, if you are watching that cute dog video, for example, and it has some background music or noise that you want your participants to hear, you need to make sure to check the button in the bottom left corner of the share screen window that allows you to share your sound. So if I share my sound, you guys will also be able to hear the sound of the YouTube video and any sounds that are playing through your computer, of course, except Zoom itself. So if you want to show your participants a song or any sort of video that has audio, you need to make sure to check off that button right here when you do it. So for example, if I go to a YouTube video, right, and I search it right now, I did not check off that share sound button, or at least I don't think I did. So you guys probably don't hear any background sounds right now. But if I had checked it off, you would hear the sound of the dog rolling in the mud. I apologize for the video. So that is an important thing to notice, and it is something you have to check off before you start the share. So if you didn't check it off, you're going to have to stop and restart. But if you have it, I misspoke right there. If you forgot to check it off when you started your meeting, you can also do it right here. So this toolbar that you see on your screen right now is the toolbar that you will see when you're sharing your screen. And one of the options there, if you click the More button, is to turn on sound sharing. So that way, then your participants can hear computer sounds. I'll take any questions that you have so far before I move on to the next segment.
I have a question. If I share a book, but I generally open that screen sharing and I just go right to the book. So am I doing it incorrectly? I mean, they can see the book, but they're not seeing my whole screen.
Yes, so that is another way to share your screen, and I think I should actually probably explain that.
Oh, but there's one more piece with that. In the book, I have highlighted certain sections.
Yes.
Are they seeing my highlighted portions?
Yes, if it is on your screen, they will see it.
Okay, even though I didn't go into the desktop first.
Yes, so that's exactly what I'm going to point out. So
Okay.
under this basic tab, we'll go back to this a little bit later too, but you see that there are, so when you choose to share your screen, this is the pop-up, and there's like 3 tabs at the top. It says Basic, Advanced, and Files. We'll almost only ever use Basic, but one of the options here is, so we talked about sharing your entire screen or sharing desktop 1, but you can choose to share any individual window you have open. And so by window, I mean like applications. So if you have Google Chrome open, you'll notice that is an option right here in this window. I could have chosen to just share Google Chrome. That's what I'm doing right now, actually. Or I could have chosen to just share my Spotify window. So what that'll do is it's the same thing as sharing your entire screen, except if you open something else that is like overlaid or to the side of it, your participants won't see that. So maybe you have your own speaker notes onto the side of your screen and you have the document you want your students to see. You can choose to share just that document or just the window that has that document. So when you have this open, you can choose, instead of desktop 1, you would choose, say, Google Chrome is where the document is. So if you are going directly to your book, like you mentioned, and that's open in some application, they will see everything that is within that window, including highlights and things, but they won't see anything outside of that window.
But will they see the notes on the book page?
They will, as long as it is within the window of the book. So yes.
Okay, all right, thank you very much.
And so if I have an application that I'd like to share, like my student would like to learn how to write his name.
Yes.
And if I take an app that I've downloaded, can I share that app so that he could actually practice handwriting?
Can you explain what the app is?
Yeah, it's an app where it goes through how to write an A in cursive, a B in cursive, a C, the whole alphabet in cursive.
Yeah. So if you're using that app on your screen and you share your screen, they'll be able to see it.
Right.
Yeah.
But if you want them to use the app themselves, they'll have to download it onto their computers.
Okay. Yeah. And okay, that's what I thought. Okay.
I have a question, Sid.
Okay.
Sid Oriel Garcia here. Quick question. Would you say in general that whatever things you want to share on your screen, is it better to open them and maybe minimize them before you start sharing? Or can you just share your screen and then go ahead and open the applications that you want to share? Would you recommend opening them first before you share, or is it okay to do it after you share?
So it is okay to do it after, but actually, Kathy just put it in the chat. So if you are going to share a specific application, like a specific window, it does have to be open before you start the share. Otherwise, Zoom doesn't know to look for it. If you're sharing your entire screen, yes, you can open them afterwards, and there's no worries there. Yeah.
All right, very good. Thank you.
I have found when before I do my lesson, I put everything, I open everything. It's much easier that way. I can go right into everything without having to then open them. It works very easily. Just I prepare ahead of time and I get them on the screen.
Hi, this is Donna. I'm confused because if you open something and then you minimize it, where is it? How do you then get to it when you're on Zoom?
So if you minimize something, it'll be in your taskbar at the bottom. You'll see all your apps at the bottom of your screen. And if you move your mouse down there, they should pop up. And if you click on the icon of that app, it'll reopen.
But the Zoom screen like covers my taskbar.
Yes, it does. But when you start sharing your screen, it won't anymore.
I'll still be able to see my taskbar?
Yes. So Zoom in full screen mode will hide your taskbar. But if you start sharing your screen, it'll come back because they want you to be able to access your applications while you're sharing.
Sid?
Yes.
This is Eileen. I have a Chromebook, and I only tried actually teaching a class on Zoom one time, and I was totally new at Zoom. But does it work the same way as you're describing on a Chromebook? I couldn't see anything that I was, I couldn't go back and forth. I was having difficulty with that.
It does work about the same way on a Chromebook, and I saw that someone posted a question.
That was me. That was me.
Yes. So Zoom on Chromebooks will have most of the features that we discussed today. Some of them are limited just because Zoom is just not as advanced on Chromebooks. I don't have a complete list of what is limited and what is not, but if you don't see the feature, it's probably not available. Sharing your screen is, and it should work in a normal manner, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Sid, I have a question. If one of my students wants to share a document,
yes,
can I have them have the ability to share?
Yes. So when you are the host of the meeting, and if I go back a couple of slides, when you're the host of a meeting, you'll notice on this slide that there's that little green arrow next to the big green arrow. So if you click on that button, it'll say something like advanced screen sharing options. And if you click on that, there's an option for you to allow participants to share their screen as well. That is something that you can do, and we will go over more settings like that close to the end of this presentation.
Okay, thank you.
Sid?
Another option would also be to have them email it to you if you just want to look at it privately and you don't want to share it with your whole class or something like that. But if you want to look at it live, yeah, you can set it so they can share their screen as well.
Okay, thanks.
Are there any more questions with screen sharing? All right, then I'm going to move on to the next segment. Feel free to, like I said, I'll pause for questions after it, and feel free to jump in or put it in the chat. I will be reading it periodically. So this goes right along with screen sharing, and Zoom has an annotation feature. And so what this allows you to do is it allows you to draw on top of whatever you've got on your screen. So when you're when you're sharing your screen yourself on Zoom, and now the red box got moved, but you see the red box that's sort of covering the annotate button in that toolbar in the screenshot that's on your screen right now. So when you're sharing your screen in Zoom and you click the annotate button, it gives you a bunch of tools that look like this. You can draw, you can add text, you can highlight and things like that. And so this allows you to sort of make annotations as you're talking, point to what you're talking about, etc. There's also a spotlight feature, which is really useful. And so I'm going to actually demonstrate these real quick. So right now I turn it on in the Zoom meeting we're in, I turned on annotating, and you should see that I am drawing a circle on the side of my screen here. And so this is It just kind of hovers on top of your screen and it'll go away. I have a clear button to make it all go away as well. I can add text right on top too if I'm trying to type something out. And so this allows me to, for example, I know most of you guys aren't teaching math, but if I was teaching math, for example, that's just the PDF I found, I could go ahead and, I'm asking the students about the problem and then I'm filling in the answers as I go in just a convenient little drawing tool. If you have a mouse, it's a little bit easier. I'm using a trackpad right now, so not as fine. But something that's really useful is that your participants can also annotate on your screen. So they can interact with what you're sharing and what you're doing. And I'm actually going to encourage all of you guys to try it right now. At the top of your screen, you should see something that says that it is showing and that there is view options. If you you should be able to, if you click on the view options, you should then.
Rhonda, can you say that again? Embarrassment. Oh yeah, absolutely. Embarrassment.
Whatever that is.
Their skill levels, they just don't have the skill level that they want, or maybe it is
Can you
successful.
mute everybody?
Absolutely. Your reading, right, is right there, that reading skill level.
Sid, can you mute everybody?
Past failures.
Open to, yeah.
Please, everybody, could you please mute yourselves? Because
So then what's their superpower? What are our students' superpowers?
please,
Sid, where is the view options button?
So at the top of your screen, you should see something that says that Sid is sharing, and to the right of that, you should see view options. It's a green bar at the top of your screen that I'm not sure if I have a screenshot here. It looks like where it says you are screen sharing in this screenshot, you should see something that says Sid is screen sharing. You may have to move your mouse around to get it to pop up.
At the top of my screen, very top. And then view options is in white and you just click on it.
Where might that be? I don't see that.
Not showing on mine either.
It's at the very, very top. Can you see? Very top, right under the frame of the computer. You are viewing.
Literally at the top, not the
Literally.
top of what what Sid's showing, the top of your screen, all the way up, like it's going to fall off the
Right,
top.
right next to the frame. Right under your camera.
Yep.
Okay, well, it says view options. Now what?
If you click on the view option, they have an option that says, I believe it says annotate.
Okay,
And if you click on that, you should get.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, and then you should get the same black toolbar that we're all seeing, and it allows you to draw on my screen.
I don't see it.
Drawing,
okay, so that allows your student to draw on your screen.
yes. You may have to instruct them the way I showed you to click the view options button, but this allows you and your student to interact with whatever you might be showing them.
Do you have that option if
Click
you're
on the
the
mouse
host?
button first.
So the mouse button is just your normal mouse, and if you click on the draw button, that'll let you.
Oh, draw. Oh, okay. Okay.
All I see you are viewing Sid's screen and then it says options, but when I click on that, it says original size and exit full screen. I don't see anything else.
What kind of device are you using?
Chromebook.
Yeah, unfortunately, Chromebooks don't have the annotation. Yes.
Do you have this option if you're the host?
Yes. So so the host also does have the option to annotate, and that is on this toolbar that you might see. Hold up, let me. So this annotate button on the host toolbar, which is right next to pause share, is the host button that activates annotating. And so, of course, if you don't want your students to be drawing along with you, there is an option to disable annotation for others. So you click the three dots on your toolbar, and then you click disable. Which I'm going to do right now, so we can move on. But I'll take any questions on annotation. That is the gist of it.
So Sid, are you going to talk about annotation while using the whiteboard?
Yes, that is next.
Okay.
Okay, so Zoom's whiteboard. Zoom's whiteboard is really simple. It's actually just basically a big white screen that Zoom makes for you, and then it automatically turns on the annotation options we just talked about. So you can annotate on a blank screen, and you can use it exactly like you would use a whiteboard in class. Probably a little less well, but you can. The way to turn that on is to hit Share Screen in the bottom Screen Share toolbar, and then instead of choosing one of your desktops or windows, you just choose the whiteboard. And that creates a box that looks like this. And I'm going to do that right now. So I'm going to stop my presentation, create a new screen share, and choose whiteboard. And so you guys should now see a blank whiteboard that I am drawing on. Just like the other whiteboard, you guys can draw on this too. Just like a normal annotation, I should say. Your participants, your students, and you guys in this meeting can also participate on the whiteboard. So if you guys want to try right now, you can, while I take any questions that you guys might have on annotating and whiteboarding.
So Sid, did you have to go into annotate before you could draw on the whiteboard, or?
No, so the whiteboard basically automatically turns on the annotate.
Okay, thank you.
Sid, my question is, I'm usually using my MacBook Air, and I have my trackpad trying to write with my trackpad, which is very difficult. And my student has the option, though, to highlight a marker, which is easier to use than just a pencil.
Why don't you just click on the text box and type text?
Yeah, we could do that too, but I'm trying to get them to learn how to do cursive to some degree. I don't know how easy that would be in the text box or not. I don't know.
Yeah, so my biggest recommendation would be to if you guys can see my face, to get a mouse. It's like a standard computer mouse. Those make it a lot easier to draw on your screen. If you're really feeling into it, they make these stylus pens too. That you, I don't have it with me. There's like a pad that you plug into your computer, and then you draw on the pen, and it moves your mouse on the screen the way you're drawing with the pen. You can even use like an iPad. If you join Zoom on an iPad and turn on the annotation, you can just draw with your finger. Unfortunately, trackpads aren't great.
Sid, how do you get that box so that you could type in "Hello, guys"?
So if you're on once you click the annotate button,
Yes.
the toolbar, and the second option in the toolbar is text.
Yes.
If you click on text and then click anywhere on the whiteboard, it'll pop up and you can.
Great, thank you.
One thing I wanted to mention that I didn't mention completely is the spotlight, and that is it's a toolbar within the annotating toolbar. And if you guys all try that right now, click on the spotlight, and it doesn't draw, but it just creates this red dot that you can move around. If you click the
Spotlight?
Yeah, so if you click spotlight, there's two options. The left one, the one that looks like a little magic wand, is just this red dot that you can move around. And when you're sharing your screen, all your students can see it. So if you're trying to just highlight more attention to something as you move your mouse around, it's just sort of like a bigger, brighter mouse. And the other spotlight feature is a little arrow. And if you click on your screen, it saves that thing as an arrow. So you might have noticed, actually, I'm going to clear everything right now. So if I use that second one, it'll just create a little arrow with your name on it. And it just shows your students where to look on the screen. So, if you have a lot of things open, you're trying to point to a specific part of the screen, they're not understanding it, you can use either one of the spotlights to sort of draw attention. But
Where's the spotlight?
I'm not
Where's
seeing
the
the spotlight.
We've lost your taskbar, Sid. Where's
the spotlight?
It's in the annotation toolbar. So if you guys go back to annotating,
we don't have that anymore. It's disappeared.
I don't see a spotlight in the annotation option.
No, I don't either.
I don't either.
You see
No.
On the right of stamp, what do you see?
Stamp?
The stamp.
On the right, arrow.
Arrow.
Yeah, arrow. So if you click on arrow, you should see two options. The left one is the red dot spotlight, and the right one is the arrow spotlight.
Nope.
No.
Okay. Maybe that's only a presenter thing. So when you're presenting, you will have both the arrow and the red dot spotlights. So can you guys see the red dot that I'm moving on my screen right now?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, so that's why they don't want 50 of those going on. So it's just for me. But so when you guys are teaching your classes, you will also see a red dot that moves around. You can control that red dot.
Sid, I'd like to mention something. I had emailed you a few weeks ago because I was having trouble scrolling. I put up stories and exercises, and then I scroll down when I'm doing the class, and I couldn't get my screen, I couldn't get the screen to scroll. And that's because I still had the text box on or the draw or something other than the mouse. And so when you're in there and you want to scroll, you have to be in the mouse. Otherwise, you're not going to scroll.
Yes. So let me grab the normal screen share so that what you're saying makes a little more sense to everybody. So when you're annotating on a screen share, you'll notice that there's, let me go back a couple slides. Why won't you let me? Oh, I'm doing the same thing you are. I was on the draw. I couldn't move my mouse. So when you're annotating, there's the toolbar here. So if you switch to draw, it'll draw on top of wherever your mouse is. But that also means that you can't use your mouse to click on things on your screen. So you can't scroll down, or you can't switch your tab or interact with anything else.
Right.
So you want to see on this highlighted toolbar in red, you want to click back on the mouse tool before you start interacting with your screen again. So if you are drawing, for example, like I'm drawing right now, and then I'm trying to click on YouTube, it's not going to let me click. It's just creating a line where I'm clicking.
Right.
So you want to go back to this mouse tool, and then you can open YouTube, or you can scroll down or go through your slides like I am.
Right.
Good to know.
So any more questions with Whiteboard or with Zoom? Whiteboard, annotating, and anything I've talked about so far?
Yes, I have a question. I can't get Whiteboard. I'm not a host. I only work in a breakout room and I have a Chromebook, but I don't have Whiteboard unless I just can't find it.
I don't know if Chromebooks have Whiteboard or not. My imagine is that they don't because they don't have annotating, as we discovered earlier today. So they probably also don't have the Whiteboard since they're effectively the same.
He's our ESL techie guy. He's giving Zoom conference on Zoom. Are you muted? Yeah.
One thing you can do is if you if you're using a Chromebook, especially if you put into Google like Whiteboard website or something like that.
I expected like the old person.
Lots of websites that are just there are lots of websites that are basically just a whiteboard that allows you to draw on the whiteboard, and then you can just share your screen normally, and you draw on that whiteboard, and your students can watch you. Does that make sense? Or like you don't have to use Zoom's built-in whiteboard. You can use some other whiteboarding tool and just share your screen so your students can see it.
Yes, I've tried that too, but I just was hoping I could get the Zoom one, but that's okay. I tried that too, so that works. Thank you.
I have a suggestion. If you can't use your whiteboard, you could use a Word document if you want to type things and share that.
Yes.
I do that all the time.
Sometimes because then I can also send it to my students afterwards if it's something they might want to refer to or keep in their portfolio.
Yes. You can save whiteboard, but it basically just saves a screenshot or an image of the whiteboard. So if you notice on the whiteboard toolbar, there is that save button on the right. And all that does is it downloads the little image file to your computer. That is like a screen grab of what the whiteboard was when you hit save. So you can't edit it afterwards, but if you want, maybe you have some notes typed up in there and you want your students to get it, you can hit that save button and send it to them. But Word docs are great because they're editable afterwards. If you're on a Chromebook, you could use a Google Doc. or a Google Drawing, which is not quite a whiteboard, but it's useful if you're trying to show lots of images. Google also has a website called Jamboard, which is something in between. It's basically a whiteboard. It's a lot like Zoom's whiteboard. There's text, there's shapes, and there's hand drawing.
I found the whiteboard kind of clunky, and after trying it a few times, I just opened a Word document and created whatever I wanted there and sent it to my students afterwards.
That is what I am learning a lot of ESL tutors do, especially because most of their stuff centers around text. That is absolutely something you can do. And if you guys want, at the end of this, I can show some examples if you guys are still confused as to how to do that.
I have one question, please. If you're on the whiteboard and you hit save, where does it go? I mean, where do I retrieve it?
It's okay. That's a great question, and it's really random. I'm gonna be honest. So on my Mac, it goes to my documents folder. Within that, there's a folder called Zoom that it created for itself, and within that, there's a folder with today's date. In that folder is where the screen grabs go. But I imagine it's going to vary from device to device based on
Yeah.
using.
I have a PC, so when I do screenshots often. I annotate the exercises as we're going along. And I think I told you, one of my colleagues is able to save all of her annotations on the page. I'm now taking a screenshot, but it's a little clunky because then you got to crop it because you get all of the other headers and toolbars up on the top. You know, you can't. So
it's worth mentioning that when you save your annotations, you're also going to get all the toolbars and the headers at the top.
Yeah.
Well, not all. You won't get the Zoom one, so it's a little bit better. So yeah, if you're annotating, that save button right there at the far right of the annotation, it just takes a screenshot of your computer, except for the Zoom toolbars. So it's like a screenshot minus the Zoom toolbars is what it saves to your folder, to your device.
Okay.
When I take it, it actually, I'm on a Mac, and this might be different for you guys, but when I hit the save button, a little pop-up shows up that goes away in a couple seconds, but it says saved as PNG, and then there's a button that says show in Finder. And if I click on that button, it goes right to it in Finder, which is it's like File Explorer for Windows.
Okay.
So if that pops up for you, you can click on that and get it right away. But
all right.
Sid, you don't have the option to give it your own name and to save it as in whatever folder you want to?
You do not. You can only rename it after it does it.
Okay, thanks.
I have another question. It's kind of going back to screen sharing. If you're sharing something like a document, let's say that math page that you had up, and then you need to flip over to a clear document, like a Word document, because you want to explain something further and annotate somehow on it. Is there a way to just have more than one document, one square shared at a time, instead of like stop share and then go share the other thing and then stop share and go back to where you were?
Yes. So your best bet is to share your entire screen or to share your desktop. And so that what that'll do is if you open another application, and I'll demonstrate right now. So I'm going to hit share screen, and then what I've been doing is I've been clicking on my slideshow, which is one of the windows I've opened. Now if I click my entire desktop, so right now you see the Chrome window that I'm in, which is still the slideshow. But if I just move that off to the side, or if I minimize it, you can see anything else that I choose to pull up as well. So then I can go and I can pull up Word, and that'll pop up as well once it loads. So your best bet is to share your entire screen, and then they will see any windows you open and close.
Okay, thanks.
If you want, a lot of tutors like to do this. They like to split screen. So I put Word and I put Word on one half of my screen and like Chrome on the other half. And this works better if you have a larger screen than I do. But so say I have my PDF on the left half, which is our reference material, and on the right half I just have a blank Word document, which is just like annotations. I can cut my screen in half and do a split screen. And if I share my whole screen like this, they can see both. And it just glitched out because my computer is slow today.
How do you split screen?
So on a Mac, you do it just like this. So you hold down on the screen button, and then you click on tile window to left or right, depending on how you like it, and it cuts it in half. And then it asks you to pick, you have to have two windows open, so it asks you to pick another window. So if I have these two windows open, and I click on this, and I go right, I can click on this, and I go left, and it cuts it in half. If you're on a Windows machine, what you do is, in the top right, there's a maximize button in most Windows. And that maximize button, if you hold down on it, it gives you the same options. It goes left or right. And you can also just drag your window all the way to the left of the screen or all the way to the right, and that will cut it in half in the same way. And I can do examples on Windows at the end. I know I've said that for a few things now, but I do have my Windows computer here that I just haven't turned on yet, but I can do it afterwards, and we can go through some examples of things like that that are platform specific.
Sid,
Mm-hmm.
if you're working, like I have two monitors, that probably changes it a little, right?
Yes, so if you have two monitors, you can, okay, so Zoom does allow you to share both monitors.
Yeah.
You can, I haven't done that part of it, but there's a couple ways. You can either share just one at a time. There might be an option to share everything. And I know you can actually make two simultaneous screen shares of one of each monitor. But that becomes kind of difficult for your students to see. Because if they're on one screen and they have to see two screens, they get really small.
Gotcha. And I think she's working, the woman I'm working with is on an iPhone or phone.
Oh
so
my God.
That's even worse. Yeah,
Phones, you want to try to make things big and centered and not.
exactly.
Are there any other questions? Anything so far? The next thing I'm going to talk about is breakout rooms. So we're moving away from sharing screens. Okay, so another feature that's available to hosts of Zoom meetings is breakout rooms. And some of you have done these before, but basically these are mini sub-Zoom meetings. It won't be useful for a lot of you guys who are only teaching 1 or 2 or 3 students at a time, but it is useful if you're teaching a larger group or something like that. So I'm going to be relatively brief, but I'm going to go through it because it's useful to know. So the thing with breakout rooms, and actually a lot of Zoom features, but primarily breakout rooms, sometimes you don't have access to it right away. For some reason, Zoom turns it off. So you have to turn it on for yourself before you start your meeting. And the only way to do that is to go to the Zoom's website and you log in with your account, and then you click on settings, and you want to find this breakout room button and you want to turn it on. If you find that when you're in a meeting, you don't see the breakout rooms option, you want to do this. Go to Zoom's website and do it. It is not a premium feature, and everyone has access to it in probably a slightly limited form, but you do have access to it. Once you have turned that on your account and you're in a meeting, you just click the breakout rooms button to get started. And breakout rooms are reasonably advanced. There are a lot of customization options, but I'm going to go through the simple parts. You choose how many breakout rooms you'd like to create, and then you have options here. You can either assign participants to each room manually, so if you want certain students with certain students, or you can have it randomized, which is what it says by automatically, or you can have let them choose. So for example, if you have created a group 1 and a group 2 and a group 3 and the students know what groups they're in, you can just say let participants choose and they'll click on which one they want to join. Once you create it, you get a window that looks like this, and these are like the 5 breakout rooms. There's some settings at the bottom, so you can change that again. You can go back to say, okay, allow participants to choose, don't let them choose, let them come back to the main meeting, let them not come back to the main meeting, automatically close them. There's a whole lot of options here. You guys can play around with that. The important things here are that this is not, where it says not started at the top, I'm going to make sure that you have to now click open all rooms at the bottom to start the rooms again, to actually start them up. Then your participants will be put into the breakout rooms, and you as the host can join any room. So the way to do that is to hover over the room's name and then click the join button and then hit yes. And that will let you join any one of these rooms. And right now they're named rooms 1 through 5, but you do have the option to name them. So if they're for specific purposes, you can also name them.
Sid, I have a quick question for you.
Yeah, go on.
So I've used the breakout rooms, and I usually set up 5 or 6. After I join, I want to go in and I want to see what each pair of students is doing. The way I've been doing it, it's a little bit inefficient. After I join room 1, I have to exit and I go to the main room, and then I have to go in and join room 2 and to see what they're doing. Is there an easy way to go from room 1 to 2 without going back to the main parlor, so to speak?
I don't know for sure. I believe that you should be able to access this breakout rooms window whichever room you're in, but if you're in your experience, you don't see that breakout rooms button at the bottom toolbar, then I guess you're stuck with going back to the main room.
Yeah, I just have like an exit the room, and then it brings me out to the main room, and then I have to go and join a new room.
Yeah, you might be stuck with that. I was
Takes
going
a little bit longer to talk to everybody.
Yeah, I was going to do a demonstration, and we could have tested that out.
Okay.
It looks like I didn't create this Zoom meeting, and it looks like whatever the deal is, we don't have breakout rooms enabled for this meeting. So we're going to have to skip the live demonstration, unfortunately, but I will try to answer your questions. I'm just reading the chat. Someone asked about Jamboard. You spelled it correctly in that message. That is exactly how it's spelled. If you just Google that, you should see it. It's Google's whiteboarding thing. And what it does is it saves those whiteboards to your Google Drive so you can come back to it later. Someone also said PowerPoint is useful. And back when we were talking about whiteboarding and annotating, PowerPoint is great. It's a lot like if you guys have used PowerPoint, you know what it's like, and you can drag in images and drag in text boxes, and it's sort of like you can use it like a whiteboard if you like.
Is there a way to set how much time they're in the room ahead of time? Like you want them to be in for 2 minutes, or you want them to be in for 5 minutes?
Yes. So on this screen, which is the second screen after you start setting up the rooms, you can check that auto close and then type in how many minutes you want.
Okay, great. I didn't see that before. Thanks.
No worries. Any other questions? Breakout rooms or anything else? Screen sharing, whiteboarding, anything that's come to your head?
As you're setting up your Zoom meeting, you have to go to that breakout room first to make sure. Otherwise, you can't, once you're in it, you can't, just like you tried to do, you can't go into a breakout room. You had to set it up first as an option.
So when you set it up at first, it's not actually setting it up for the meeting. It's setting it up for your account, so it's on.
It has to be in your account first.
Yes. Okay. So once you do it once, every meeting you have after that will have the Zoom, will have the breakout rooms.
Okay, Sid, I had put a question into the chat. I like to use a lot of YouTube videos.
Yeah.
And I'd like to find, I know I can just, go into YouTube and find them again, but is there an easy way to kind of save them someplace and be able to access them? And how do I save them?
Yeah, so there's a few ways. Whichever works for you, so I can show you. So if I
at this point nothing works. So
okay, if I'm looking for a YouTube video and I'm just looking for music and I'm interested in lo-fi music, I'm gonna pause.
Okay.
For all of you guys. So once I find the video I like, there's a lot of ways to save things. One way, easiest way, is probably to just copy this URL here. And save it in a Word document somewhere, maybe your planning document for the next meeting. Another way is you can bookmark it in your browser. So if you add a bookmark, it'll save to your bookmarks bar or to your bookmarks folder if you're familiar with how that works.
No, I'm not familiar with how that works. What do you?
So let me turn it up.
Okay, bookmark there, right?
Bookmarks, and these are basically all the websites that I've bookmarked, which lets me save them and sort of go back to what I like. There's also a bookmarks bar that lets you access all of them. Though I have it turned off right now. So if I hit bookmark, add it here, and hit done, it shows up right here and it's saved until I delete it. That's one way. That's just built in.
Well, okay, now I've tried the copy paste into a Word document,
Mhm.
but it doesn't save it as a hyperlink.
Can I interrupt for a moment? Because I absolutely do this all the time. What I do is I get the YouTube videos and I send them to myself in an email. And then when I'm ready, because I use them all the time, when I'm ready to show them, I put my email on the screen and I just open that email and I show the video. And it works very quickly and very efficiently.
Well, okay, but I don't necessarily want to open my whole email to my student.
Yes.
So then I'd like to just save it in a Word document like you suggested, Sid, but it's not saving as a hyperlink.
No, you just copy.
If you click on the share button or the save button at the bottom of the YouTube video,
Yeah.
it says copy link. And then when you click on that, it puts it into, the place where stuff gets copied. Then you can just open up a Word document and paste it into your Word
Right,
document.
well, okay, so,
That's the way I do it.
but, okay, so he just did it, but how did you make that a link?
So Word did it automatically for me because what I did, so I hit paste and then I hit the space bar and it just did it automatically, but sometimes it doesn't. And I agree that sometimes it doesn't. So if it doesn't, and let me see if I can, let me see if I can make it so it doesn't do that. So say it didn't and I just didn't have it. So what you would do is you would highlight the text and then you right click it, then you click hyperlink. And then in the address part, you paste in the address again, and then you hit OK, and now it's a link to the actual YouTube video. That happens sometimes, but most of the time, if you paste in a link and then you hit the space bar or hit enter, Word should automatically recognize it and save it as a hyperlink, which you can just click on.
So if it doesn't work, you highlight it again. And what you highlight it again and then do what?
Yeah, could you repeat that slowly?
Yeah. So if it doesn't work, you highlight the link, you right click. You guys see this pop-up window? Can you guys see the pop-up window?
Yes. Yeah, and then?
So once you click on it, you hit hyperlink in the pop-up options. Now I'm on a Mac, and some of this might look slightly different, but the options will still be there. Hit hyperlink, and then in where it says address. Okay, so this is the text to display for the link, and you can actually change this. It doesn't have to be this. And then where it links to is where you want to put in that URL again.
Well, how did you put in that URL again?
Oh, I pasted it. Okay. So Control V to paste.
Which means you did what? Control V?
Yes, exactly.
Thank you.
And so if you actually can change this text if you wanted to, so you could just say that this is the lo-fi video. And what that'll do is it'll just say lo-fi video, but it's the hyperlink to the actual video. But I really do think for the most part, you guys should be able to hit paste and then Control V to paste and then hit space or hit enter, and it should then turn blue and automatically detect it.
Okay, now each time you open that Word document, are you going to have to copy that link and then do space?
No. So once I hit save on this document and I, if I save it somewhere to my computer and I open it up again, it
should. Okay, thank you.
Yep, no problem.
So that space bar is the key.
Yes.
So at the beginning of the presentation, you talked about share sound.
Yes.
And I don't think I ever used that, but I have used YouTube and videos.
Well, what happens sometimes is if you're using like a laptop, for example, and you just turn up your volume a lot, your students will be able to hear the sound like through your own microphone or something like that. So you might not have had a problem with them being unable to hear it, but if you click that share sound, it'll actually like send the sound to them with the share screen.
Okay.
And it might already be checked for you. You might just not have noticed that it was already checked off when you shared the video. That happens sometimes. I'm not sure if it defaults to on or off. Any other questions?
Is it possible to make that share sound be the default?
I don't know. That's honestly, I don't know. I always just check it. There might be a setting in Zoom somewhere.
Okay.
But I think once you check it off, it's not gonna automatically uncheck itself. But it's just but if you do forget to turn it on before you share your meeting, there is an option. I may have misspoke earlier, but there is an option to share it once the meeting started. So if they can't hear your video you're playing, you click the more button in your Zoom toolbar and check off share sound.
That's what I usually do.
Are there any other questions? Someone put in the chat and they said, when you're trying to go into a meeting, a comment that says host in another meeting comes up and they aren't. Do you know why this is? I don't know. I thought that is always accurate. For the most part, whenever I've encountered it, it's because someone is signed. So when it says host in another meeting, it means that someone is signed into the host Zoom account and in a different Zoom meeting, so they haven't started the meeting you're in yet.
Yeah. Sid, I have trouble with that because sometimes I use Literacy New Jersey's account and sometimes I use my own, and sometimes I will click into the wrong account.
Yeah.
And I'll be sitting there for a while wondering where my students are. Meanwhile, they have a screen that says I'm in another meeting.
Yes.
So I have to get back out of the account I'm in and re-enter the correct meeting.
Yes, so for those of you who may be using shared Literacy NJ accounts, that does become really difficult. You got to make sure you're on the right account for the meeting that you're using, the account that you used to create the meeting. It might still let you join with the other account, but it'll confuse everyone else because you're not technically the host. You're not the person who created that meeting. Any other questions? And questions like this are cool too, if they're not exactly related to what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I have one. I tutor with a group, and so I'm never the host and assigning rooms and such, but I'm doing a little catch up with one of the students and use my own account, which is limited. It's just the 40-minute thing. But when I go to set up the meeting, it's very frustrating because Zoom doesn't give me an option of 40 minutes. It gives me an option of 30 or 45. All right, so I have to pick 30. It's by default, I have to pick 30. And so we will go over the 30 minutes. And I have found now twice that it doesn't kick me out after 40 minutes. And I went to try and update it to prolong the session for another half hour, and it already had it on the screen. And so I just don't know what's up with that. Do you?
I found Zoom with one-on-one is unlimited time.
Yes. So the
really?
limit doesn't apply if it's one-on-one Zoom. And additionally, if you set the meeting length, like so the 40-minute limit is the only actual limit by Zoom. If you set the meeting length to less than 30 minutes, they don't kick you out, or less than 40 minutes, they don't kick you out. That's just the meeting length that you set is just so your students and participants who are joining the meeting have an idea of how long it's going to be. You can even set it to 2 hours, and it'll give you a warning saying you'll be limited to 40 minutes. You can set it to 2 hours, and it won't stop you.
Oh, really? Because I thought I couldn't. Oh, well, anyway, okay. So that's good to know.
You will be kicked out after 40 minutes if there's more than 2 people total in the meeting.
I see.
Yeah.
But it won't, like, you can say that it's going to last longer. And then a trick that most people use is after you get kicked out for the 40 minutes, you can just click the link and go back into the meeting and you get a fresh 40 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Oh, good. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any other Zoom questions? All right, then. The next topic is recording. I think this might be the last feature we have to... No, it's not. Anyway, recording is another one of those features that sometimes people don't have it, and they have to go onto Zoom's website and turn it on for themselves. It's really silly, doesn't make any sense, but if you don't see the record button, go onto Zoom's website and check off local recording. The features below local recording, No, yeah, you guys will have all of these features because this is on my account. There are other types of recording, like cloud recording and things that we don't have access to. If you're using a Literacy NJ account, you might have access to it because those are paid features, but typically you wouldn't want to use those anyway. If you are trying to record a session so that way, if you're going over crucial notes or something like that, that you want your students to be able to go back and rewatch and re-listen to, you make sure it's on here, and then it's really simple. When you're in a meeting, you just press the record button, and it starts recording. It'll then give you this pause or stop recording option. So you can either pause or stop the recording. And when the meeting is over, you'll get a pop-up like this that says it's converting the recording. And once it's done converting, you'll have access to a little video file of everything in between when you hit start and stop recording. It records all presentations and it records everyone's audio and everyone's video.
And where does that get stored, Sid?
It'll get stored in a magical place on your computer that Zoom picks by random.
Sid, if you're using breakout
It's
rooms,
not
does it record
stored.
the rooms individually or no?
I don't know. I don't know how it records breakout rooms.
Because that would be great if I could do a breakout room, because I'm usually only get to be in for like a minute or two. Because if I've got 5 going, I pop in one, try to listen in on what they're doing, see if they're doing okay. Then I go to room 2. By the time I'm done in room 5 or 6,
they're done.
You know,
Yeah.
I missed most of what the individual students have done, but I'd love to be able to go back and hear what they said.
I think, unfortunately, if you're trying to record a breakout room, I'm not sure, so don't quote me on this, but I'm reasonably certain if you have to join the breakout room and then click record, but once you leave the breakout room, it'll stop recording.
Oh, so you can only record the room that you were actually in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm reasonably certain. I can't test it because I don't have breakout rooms enabled on this meeting.
Now that would be a great feature if I could do that. Then I could actually go back and listen to what they said.
I can, at the end of this, I'm going to give you my email address. And if you want to email me, I can get back to you, figure out exactly how that works, and let you know.
That'll be great, Sid. Thank you so much.
No problem.
You
I have
know,
a question.
that almost sounds illegal.
It feels a little bit strange to record a meeting you're not in, so I'm not sure if they allow it. I really don't.
I'm wondering if you set up a co-host for one or two of those breakout meeting rooms, would that be able to be recorded?
Yeah, co-hosts can record meetings for sure. They'd have to be in the breakout room.
Right.
I think there might even be an option to let participants record meetings. So if you ask your students, they'll be able to record it. They'll just have to send you the recording afterwards. Yeah, but worth noting that you only have access to co-hosts if you're using a premium account. So if you guys are using a Literacy NJ account or you're borrowing one, you can make a co-host. You can't make a co-host if you're using your own personal account. But yes, go on.
Sid, are you saying that the record feature is available to the host and the participants?
By default, only the hosts, but I believe there might be an option to let participants record, and I'm almost certain there is that option, and I don't know where it is. But, most participant options are. I'm just checking to see if I can find the option before I fully answer your question. But most features, Zoom allows you to turn it on for participants as well, but by default it is not now. Any other questions?
Steve, you see the question from Susan. Susan says, if I start a meeting and make someone else the host and then leave the meeting, it stops recording?
So yes, it depends. If you make someone else the host and they hit record, then it'll record on their computer, and if you leave, it keeps recording. It's basically whichever computer hits record has to stay in the meeting for the recording to continue. If you're not in the meeting, you can't be recording it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And I just looked it up. So if you want a participant to be able to record, it's not one of those features that you can give to everyone, but you can give it manually to anyone that you want. So you would click on the participants tab, and in the list of people, you click on their name and then hit allow to record. Any other recording questions? All right, so this is an example of what it looks like once it's done converting. It should open it up in a window for you. somewhere in your computer. The Finder or the File Explorer window Zoom should give to you, so you don't have to go searching for it. But it is in a strange place. And so there is a video of the Zoom meeting and a audio file of only the audio of the Zoom meeting as well. All right, I'm going to move. Oh yes, move on to this meeting security management. I didn't have a great header for this, but these are the features that allow you to control what participants can do and things like that. And so most of this is going to start from the participants tab. So you guys have access to that tab. You don't have access to all these buttons right now, but if you click the participants button at the bottom of your screen, you'll see a list of everyone in the meeting. And you can probably also see whether or not their audio and video is on. And so as the host, you'll see what looks more like the screenshot in this meeting, and obviously there's more people, and you have this more button. So when you click more on someone's name, you have the options to chat with them, to turn off their video, to make them the host, to change their name, to put them in the waiting room, or to remove them from the meeting altogether. You also usually have the option, and in this screenshot, oh, that's interesting. I don't have the option in this screenshot because I believe the other device is like a Chromebook or a phone, so it has less features. But if they're on a desktop or a laptop, you'll have the option to allow them to record as well. That is, and if they have their video on, you have the option to make them like the center video, to spotlight them so everyone else is looking at their video. Say someone's holding something up and you want everyone to see it, you can click on that person's name and hit spotlight. But so those are all of the features that are available from this participants tab, and this is useful if you want to give someone permissions. It's also useful if you're trying to mute a noisy person. You don't even have to click more for that. You'll see next to more, there's just that big mute button over everyone's name. As the host, you just click on that to mute them. Or at the bottom, you can click mute all at the bottom of that participants window, and that just mutes everyone. I did that earlier in this meeting. Also on the participants tab, there is a button on the bottom right that says more. And this gives you settings for all of the participants at once. So this gives you, and also meeting wide settings. So this gives you this options to lock the meeting, which lets no one else join. Gives you the option to turn on and off the waiting room, which is how you can filter in newcomers. It gives you the option to participant-wide features. So if you turn those three at the bottom, so if you turn off unmute themselves and you mute a participant, you're the only person that can unmute the participant. So if they're being really noisy or you just don't want them to talk right now until you give them the permission to talk again, sounds kind of cruel, but you can turn that off. You can turn off the permission to change their names. If they're giving themselves bad names, you can lock their names to whatever their in meeting name, and you can give them the permission to turn on their video or not. If you uncheck those, you still have control over their video and their microphone, but they don't. The other thing is Zoom will never let you turn on someone else's microphone. You can only turn it off and then ask them to turn it on, just as a privacy thing. Same thing with video. Sometimes there's a way to unmute them remotely, but it's only if they agreed to it beforehand, and it's complicated and it's annoying, so it's generally not worth your time. But if someone's really having, they are unable to unmute themselves because they just struggle with the technology or something, and they can give you consent through Zoom to turn on and off your microphone for them. So if you do have someone who's really struggling, maybe a new ESL student or something like that, that is an option available, but you have to set that up before the meeting starts. And the last feature, I guess, I don't know if it's last, participants can raise their hands. You guys should see that somewhere at the bottom toolbar, you should see raise hand. I'm not sure if you see it. Maybe it's on the participants tab. I don't quite remember where you see it. Can anyone tell me? Do you guys see raise hand at the bottom?
Yeah,
it's in reactions.
Reactions, there he is. I forget the name sometimes. So if you click reactions, you have a few reactions, and One of them is to raise hands. That's useful if you want your students to, speak in order, just like raising your hands in a classroom. And you have the option under the participants tab to lower everybody's hands when you're done taking questions, or to lower hands as a student basis once you've answered their questions. That's all. If you, want to lower the hands for them so you can check off of who you've talked to, that's something you can do from this participants tab. And in this participants tab, you can also access the waiting room. So if you have the waiting room on and someone tries to join your meeting, it'll say that they're in the waiting room. You can message them and chat with them, and then you can choose to let them into the actual meeting or not. This is a filtering thing. If your Zoom meeting got leaked or something like that, you're afraid, you want to make sure you have manual control of who's joining your meeting. Personally, I don't keep these on for most of my meetings because I know who I'm giving the link to, and I know that it's only going to be a couple people. But if you're worried about that, or maybe you posted the link online and you're worried about, people that are not supposed to be here trying to join, you can just turn it on. It's on by default, and that lets you control who's coming in and out. I'm going to move on to talking about the chat, but I imagine there are some questions, so I'll take those.
Can you organize the people that you see in a particular order by alphabet, or how can you do that?
By default, they are by alphabet.
Okay.
I don't think that there is a way to change it, unfortunately.
Yes.
You can search through the participants tab, though. When there are a lot of people and you pop up the window, there's a search bar at the top.
One thing I learned is that when someone raises their hand, it puts them at the top of the pictures.
It does do that. When someone raises their hand, they get put at the top of all the names. Any other questions? Okay, so the chat is relatively self-explanatory. You type it in and everyone can see it. And you can also change who you're sending messages to. You can change to send them privately. But you can also control what your students can do. So if you click on the three dots, if you click on these three dots in the corner of the chat window as the host, you can say participants can chat with who? No one, lets them only view the chat and not type in the chat. Host only, that's sometimes useful for you taking questions. That lets them type in the chat and only in a private message to you. And so everyone's got a one-on-one channel with you and they can't talk to each other. So you're trying to ask questions and you want to be the only person seeing the questions. That's sometimes useful. Everyone publicly is like the default. It's just the chat for everyone. And everyone publicly and directly also lets your participants send private messages to each other. So if you don't want that, you can turn that off and move it just to everyone publicly or any of the other settings I described. And that is all I have for today. I'll take any questions you guys have at all about Zoom. And if you guys wanted demonstrations about certain things that I mentioned earlier, let me know and we can do those as well. And other than that, though, you guys don't have to stick around if you don't want to. Thank you for listening.
If I have a question. I don't know if this question was answered. This question is from Marilyn Katz. The question is, sometimes when trying to go into a meeting, a comment that host has is in another meeting comes up and they aren't. Do you know why this is?
Yes, we did discuss this a little bit earlier, but just to go over it again. It typically is because the host is in another meeting, but sometimes it happens when it thinks you're in another meeting or something is glitched because you switched your account wrong. If you guys are sharing Literacy and J accounts and personal accounts, make sure you're on the right one. Also, real quick before people start leaving, my email address is just in the chat. It's parikhsid16@gmail.com. Feel free to email me any questions you have about this presentation or any Zoom questions you have or any tech questions you have. If I can't promise I'll get back to you right away, but I will answer to everyone.
Okay. Sid, if there are not more questions, could you please host me because I need to copy the evaluation form?
Yes.
Thank you.
So I had one question. I put students in chats, and I wanted feedback, an easy way to do feedback to the class. So I asked each of them to, I put them in breakout rooms. I asked them to post their conclusion in the chat, but apparently it only showed to the people who were in the breakout rooms. Was there something I needed to have set up first so that it would come to the whole group?
Chats are only for the breakout rooms. They can also choose to send chat messages to the host, but there's no way to, when you're in a breakout room, to send a chat to people in other.
Everyone. Okay, thanks. All right.
Sid, will you go over the split screen again, please?
Yes, absolutely. Would you like me to demonstrate that on a Windows machine? Are you using Windows?
Yes.
Okay, I will do that. Give me a second to join the meeting from this computer.
Thank you.
Any other questions, guys, while I set this up?
Yeah, someone had asked a question. I don't know if it was answered. When students have weak Wi-Fi, does the whole thing get cut off if one person is cut off? And is there anything we can do to help?
So when, oh gosh. Okay, so when students have Wi-Fi issues, it won't affect other students, first thing. So don't be worried about that. But what you can do to help, there's not a lot. The first thing is to turn off video. If you ask the student to turn off their own video, sometimes that helps. It depends on the kind of connection issue. So if it's a connection issue just because they have really slow internet, that's useful because it's less for your internet to process, less for the Wi-Fi to process if it's only audio compared to audio and video. If it's a connection issue just because there's like bad signal, there's not much you can do about that. Another more drastic step is to have everyone turn off their video, or if they're relatively tech savvy, there is a way to turn off like incoming video. So basically the student doesn't look at anyone's video, and that'll also reduce the load drastically for themselves. Other than that, there's not all much that you can do. It's the student has to, I mean, if they can get a wired Ethernet connection for the internet, that's always faster. Obviously, if they're using the phone, that's not really an option. If they can get closer to their router, or if there's other family members in their household that are streaming or using the Wi-Fi, if they're able to ask people to stop doing that, that helps. But there's not much that you can do directly.
Okay, and sort of related question. If your student is using an iPhone, are there things that we need to be aware of? Things that we can and can't do?
They will be limited. They probably will not be able to do things like annotate. They can now share their own screens, but that's not typically very useful because there's not much they're doing on their iPhones. If you're using things like, so you're expecting them to annotate with you, it's a little bit difficult. Something to keep in mind is also that for them, multitasking is really difficult. So if they're in a Zoom meeting, it's a lot harder to also be typing if they're using their phone for everything, right? If they're using something else to type on, obviously that's different. But for you and me on a PC, it's quite simple to, have the Zoom window and have a Word window to be typing, doing work. It's a lot more difficult on the phone to do both of those things. You can, and depending on the age of the phone, it's easy or hard. But just keep in mind that, small screen, slightly less features, but nothing major that in this presentation that you need to be worried about.
Thank you.
I have a question. If I'm the host and my connectivity goes down,
yes,
is that Zoom call gone?
No.
Are the participants still there?
They will still be there. They will still be able to see each other. It won't affect the Zoom call. But obviously, if they can't hear you and see you very well, then it's not much of a tutoring session. But yes, they are still in the Zoom call. It won't break it down. It's still hosted on like Zoom's own servers. So your connection doesn't break anyone else's connection.
Okay, but then I can log back into that call?
Yes. Yeah, so if you like get disconnected from a call, it won't end the meeting.
Yes.
Obviously, as a host, you can choose to end the meeting for everybody. But if you just get disconnected, not of your own accord, it won't end the meeting. They'll still be in there. You can join with the link again. And as long as you're still signed into your account, you'll also still be the host.
Thank you.
I'm going to do the split screen demonstration, and then I will continue taking questions. So I just joined on my other computer, and let's see if it lets me share my screen. No, Anita, can you enable screen sharing again?
Sure. I think that is host.
Okay. No, it says that so you are the host. So if you can either turn on screen sharing for participants or make me the host again, I would be appreciated.
Sure. It's ready.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So so what I'm doing right now is, so first things first, when you're sharing your screen and you're trying to do a split screen, make sure to share your entire screen and not just a single window or document, because that won't work. They'll only ever see the one. Even if it becomes half the size of your screen, they'll only see the one. So once I'm sharing the whole screen, I'm on my Windows computer here. On Windows, there's a couple options to split the screen. I can either hold down on this button. Oh, I can't do that. I apologize. So here's how I would do it. You go to the top part of any window here. On Word, it's blue. On Chrome, it's gray. This top dead area where you can drag the window around. You take that and you go all the way to the right side of your screen. And you'll see, and you don't actually see it on the screen share, but you drag it all to the right side of the screen and you let go and it just snaps. And then it'll give you an option to pick what goes on the left side of your screen, and you just click on that. If you don't pick that and you keep it and it's like big, you can take it and drag it all the way to the left side of your screen. And sometimes this is a little bit, like, the screen share can be slow, so it's hard to see. But what I'm doing is I'm moving this window like this. And I'm dragging it all the way until I reach the edge. I'm doing it in one smooth motion. I'm sort of breaking it up right now to make sure you guys can see it. I go all the way to the left and I let go, and it snaps to half of the screen. You can do that, and then as long as you follow those steps, you will be able to switch back and forth. You can type on this part and then go on this part. And I don't know if I'm looking at YouTube or if I'm looking at a PDF document or anything like that. You know, whatever it is you might want to have split screens with. The most common ESL case I see is they have a PDF of like notes or like the textbook or something like that on one half, and then a Word document for teaching, collaborating, examples, stuff like that.
Okay, so before you had said that you hold down the maximize button, but that isn't the way to do it?
That is not the way to do it, and I might have just been thinking that because I'm used to that on Macs. I apologize.
Okay, so it's taking the whatever screen you have up there and moving it all the way to either the right or the left?
Yeah, so you go like this, you go, and it's not this. The window doesn't have to make it all the way to the right, but your mouse does. So right now, once my mouse hits the edge of the screen, it just kind of does that.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, guys? Is there any other demonstrations I promised to do? I kind of forget. If anyone's looking forward to one of those, let me know.
I think that was good. A lot of good, useful tips there, Sid. Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
In the when you were in Mac, and you did the share screen, for the entire screen. I think it said document 1 or something. What will it show on a PC?
So on a Mac it'll show desktop 1.
Yeah, desktop 1. Okay.
On a PC, I can. Let me check. It'll just say screen.
Okay.
And if you have more than one monitor, it'll probably say screen 1, screen 2.
Oh, I couldn't figure that out. That's okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Sid.
Thank you.
Everyone,
Bye-bye.
She said you were really impressive.
you need your help. You need your help because I wrote in the chat box the link that is the evaluation form. Could you please fill it out?
Thanks, Anita.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming, everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll see you guys
Bye.
next time. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
See,
Yeah.
could you please hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes. I told them that please fill out the evaluation form.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
I'm trying to get to it.
In the chat box, there is a link. It's a
Yes,
2
please.
Yeah, well, when I clicked on it, I got something that says Microsoft support.
That is interesting. um,
We're great, Sid. Bye.
Thank you. Try to copy paste, maybe highlight the link and then copy and paste it into a Google Chrome window.
Oh, yeah, okay. I would suggest if there are other people as technologically challenged as I am, if you want to have this evaluation form filled out to send it in an email or something.
Yeah, it's not up to me, but I will.
Well, okay, I mean, Anita or whoever, because if it's up to me to copy and paste and do anything, it's not going to happen. If you send it to me in an email that I can click on and just open, and I'll be happy to fill it out. So
All right.
that is just my suggestion.
All right.
Okay.
Okay.
Is the presenter Sid or Anita? Or
Well,
both?
whoever.
No,
I'm
Sid.
No, on
I'm
the
just- yeah.
for the evaluation form, it
Sid.
asks you for the presenter.
Oh, who is it?
Sure. Sid.
I believe
Do
that.
we write Sid or do we put Anita? On the evaluation form, it's asking you for the.
I believe that you should write Sid.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so
All
much.
right. If there are no other questions,
Okay.
thank you guys for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you once again.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.